Hey, it's you people. Yeah, I wasn't sure it was recording. Anyway, yeah, camera effect, camera effect. Yeah, I like my effects, I really do. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, making a video and I'm putting it on YouTube because it's a response video, sort of derived energy and Samari and the Fitted guy's interview video. So, yeah, I felt like I needed to respond to a couple of things. Anyway, derived energy guy. So he always I mean, he's like the typical philosopher types. You know, they always say there's no such thing as objective morality. You know, so he was agreeing with some religious nut who said, you know, without God, there's no objective morality. And the premise is idiotic in the first place because even God isn't objective morality. I mean, it's not an absolutely proven, credible morality, especially when the God never even shows up. And just by logical, reasonable scrutiny, you could kind of poke holes in the morality. I mean, right? I mean, punishing all women for all time for Eve's sins, punishing the children for the sins of the father. I mean, that's pretty bogus morality. On its face, it's kind of silly. And it doesn't seem very consistent with the whole Jesus forgiving 70 million times 7 or whatever. So, but anyway, the point is this God wouldn't have instant credibility, even if a God showed up, right? How we know he was the God of gods? How we know he's not a fake God? I mean, there's just no way to know. So there's no objective by the standard they're applying. I mean, the point is there a truth, a moral truth in the universe? And the point is, how do you find the moral truth? Or the ethical, I would say, right? The ethical truth. Where do you go to find it? Do you go look in the Bible, or do you listen to a soothsayer or a guy throwing bones in the ground? Or do you use logic? And the answer is quite obvious. So if anything is going to be called objective morality or ethics, it would have to be something derived through logic. And so I would think atheists would sort of have the corner on that market. Because they're not deriving their ethics from dogma, unproven, undemonstrated, totally unreliable hearsay evidence. Um, God is an unreasonable conclusion. That's why it requires faith, because there's no reasonable evidence you can add up to say there's a God. So it's just silly to call that objective morality. It's perhaps some sort of suggested morality, dogmatically suggested morality, faith-based morality, but it's not objective morality. And the morality or ethics you could derive through just doing simple moral or ethical calculations, the golden rule, for example, um, it's a pretty logical statement, kind of hard to work your way around it logically. No real way to do that, in my opinion. Pretty damn sure that if we could reveal the truth of the universe, the ethical truth that suffering matters, that it has meaning, weight, and all we're really gonna all that we're arguing is that we don't know it. We can't know exactly what the worth of a crying kitten is. We don't. But that doesn't mean we assume it doesn't have any weight. That would be just preposterous, in my opinion. So, yeah, so really it's about obtaining objective perspective, and and part of objective perspective is knowledge. It's not only being separated from a bias, but it's being at a position where you can view things in their proper context, in their real context, in their complete context. And I would argue that we can make a lot of those, that we have enough perspective now to be able to do that in a way that I would suggest is likely to be consistent with what the truth would be, even with absolute knowledge of every single interaction that ever took place, ever in all universes of all time. It's still going to be the same calculation. And it's one we can make logically, based on evidence. So I just find it offensive to say atheists don't have the obligations of objective morality. Of course they do. They have the dilemma of having to research it through their own logical cognition rather than just read it out of a book. But like I said, if you're reading it out of a book, there's no reason to call that objective unless you've authorized the book, unless the book has some sort of authority. And faith and dogma is not authority. Jeez, it's just obvious. So anyway, it's irritating. I know it's a philosopher thing. I don't know who it was, Nietzsche or Kant or whoever the fucking asswipe. The guy I'd like to punch him in the nuts. Came up with this idea that you can't argue from an objective. You can't turn an is into an ought. Yes, you fucking can. Alright? Suffering is bad. Oh, well, there you automatically have an ought. That means you ought not to make it unless you're going to eliminate more bad by doing it. Pretty goddamn fucking obvious. Suffering is a negative. Oh, well, negative's intrinsically bad. There's a second is. Yeah, you have an ought automatically. Duh. I hate that stupid, idiotic phrase. It's idiotic. Can't make an ought out of an is. Yeah, that's right. You make it out of two is's. Shitheads. Alright, so anyway. So on to the fifth-headed guy and Samari interview. Yeah. Alright, so they covered a few issues, but first the feminism, okay? They brought up feminism. That fifth-headed guy did. And they both sort of just ragged on the idea of it, like, well, I'm for, all humans having equal rights and all this kind of crap. And it's like missing the whole fucking point. People aren't feminists because they want women to have double rights. I mean, this is just stupid. I mean, people are feminists because women have been imposed upon by tradition that has subjugated them. And they're fighting for their equal rights. So you're a feminist as long as you believe that women haven't acquired equal rights. So unless you think women have don't face any obstacles or impairments or infirmities of classical traditional thought, the thought police that is out there, that they aren't that they aren't imposed upon by generalizations made about their gender, and they're not treated as individuals in all circumstances. So if you believe that women haven't quite achieved that yet, then it's reasonable to call yourself a feminist. If you think everything's just fine, well, then you could say it's time to eject myself from the word or eject myself from the concept. But to argue that men need to fight for their rights, that they have some sort of equal struggle, is just fucking idiotic. I mean, there's not a competition between men and women. There's a competition between men who have traditionally been unfair and modern reality where we're going to say that's unacceptable and we're going to have fairness. Yeah, well, anyway, it's just a cheap shot. I mean, the fact that there are some feminists who give feminism a bad name is just a practical fact, just like there's the amazing atheist doesn't do much for atheism, in my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm not going to say I'm an atheist. I mean, shit. Even if I feel like it sometimes. Anyway. Yeah, so, whatever. I thought that was just kind of lame. Yeah, then they talked about the sex trade subject, which is another, it's just a little bit, you gotta be a little careful where you're treading here. And so again, the conversation was basically well, do what you feel like, and if people feel like it and it's consenting adults and blah blah blah, like somehow you can create Samari basically said that, oh well, yeah, if you give them a pension program and a 401k and a you know sick leave and vacation days, then everything's going to be okay because you organize this whole trade. Well, guess what? You can't do any of that. All right, if you don't, if you can't stop people from selling it on the street. All right, so I mean, if you legalize one, you still have to leave the other one criminalized. Um, so then it almost becomes a double standard too. Um, so how are you going to play that? How are you going to walk that line? Because obviously it's going to be so much cheaper for somebody to operate outside of that whole infrastructure and just be a scab, so to speak, and break the union and function on their own without the safety infrastructure. Um, uh, and so you're still going to have the exploitation in the worst sense. The worst part of the trade will still exist. So you would have accomplished very little, except make it more expensive at the higher end, perhaps, or in the medium range. Um, and then there's just the whole general subject that it's just not a capitalizable commodity. It really shouldn't be. It's not something we should just give away to this notion of exploitation. And that's all it is. It's an exploitation. Now, whether it should be a crime or not, that's a whole nother subject. Um, I mean, crime in the sense of any severe penalty. Um, Maybe just fines. I don't know. Something to discourage it, but not to be punitive on the wrong people or punitive in an unproductive way. Uh, but I mean, it deserves a little lament because there's no way prostitution is dominated by people just having consensual sex. I mean, that's not what it's dominated by. It's dominated by a kind of economic extortion, period. And that's not a good thing. I mean, it's kind of like the lottery. I don't know if you should have a law against it, but there's nothing good about what's going on there. That psychology is sick and broken, and it's nothing to applaud. And let's not just have some delusion that it's harmless or that you can make it harmless, because I don't think you can do it. Alright, and the third one was, the right to die. And there seemed to be an awful lot of effort to qualify that people shouldn't die by mistake, and I mean, it was sort of contradictions in the statement, so I shouldn't be too hard on it because at one minute they're saying yes, they should have the right, next minute it's no, well now they should have to pass the sanity test, whatever that is, which gets really convoluted and complicated. So I think the idea of either having a persistent living will, where once you're 18 years old, you're obligated to sign off on the voting form or whatever, to your preference. You either wish to have the right to die or you wish not to have the right to die. And once you say you don't want it, well, then you'll have to go to court to get it. But if you say, I want you to always respect what I say about my destiny, I don't want you to take my rights away because you think it's in my best interest. And I will assign a guardian who I trust to validate my circumstance. So if there is some serious doubt about my credibility or competence, then you just ask my guardian. And if my guardian says, well, it doesn't matter whether he's competent, he said 10 years ago he didn't want to be here, fucktards. So I don't care whether he thinks bananas are grapefruit, alright? It really doesn't matter. He said he'd like to be dead if anything's wrong with him, including being psychiatrically crazy. I mean, so it doesn't matter whether he's fucking crazy or not. This is already established. He doesn't have a terrible passion to be here. Anyway, so like I said, I'm not saying that what they said was horrible. I'm just saying they didn't say it very well, and it's kind of important that it be said a little better. I guess is my argument. Because there is no crime in somebody dying prematurely. There's no such thing as dying prematurely. I mean, there really isn't. Yeah, if you have kids, you have an obligation, all that kind of crap. But even in that circumstance, what's the point of somebody living who doesn't really want to live? If your passion wanes so easily, if you can just fall into some little flighty thought of killing yourself, well, then you're really not here. I mean, you're really not playing the game the way it needs to be played if you're going to be raising kids. You know, I mean, that's just really bogus. You really shouldn't be raising kids if you have bouts of, um, you know, jumping into the fucking garage with the exhaust pipe in your face. Um, yeah, it's just not a very good role model. Suicidal lunatic. So I'd almost argue that kids are probably better off without such parents. But whatever. Um, but the bottom line is, you know, I don't think it's so high a standard to have to just say if somebody can't say they want to live, then they probably should die. I mean, realistically. This whole idea that they're going to miss out on something, I don't think so. No, they're going to miss out on, you know, probably fucking somebody over, getting drunk and killing somebody on the highway prematurely, you know, before they ultimately die their own miserable death anyway. So anyway, it was a little just bogusly mushy. That'll be the end of my commentary. Sorry, video effects kind of sucked. I had some good ones before. Like I was melting stuff, and that was pretty cool. But I decided that wasn't a good idea because it clouded every. Ooh, that was kind of neat. It all went white. Wow, it all went white. It does clear the lens heat. Well, I actually fuzzied it up pretty good there. Yeah, I guess it's the moisture combination. Yeah, it wrinkled it. Yeah, so if you heat it flat, then it levels out. But if you heat it crooked, then it does this stripier thing. Oh, see that? You learn something new every fucking, well, not every day, actually. Yeah, well, that's sort of interesting. I don't know if there's anything good I can do with that. It's really not that interesting. I can have a lot more fingers, maybe. Yeah, no. Yeah, wasn't that good. I screwed it again. Does that make it better? Squirts? Yeah. It's failed too. Yeah. Plastic. Alright. I have to color it. I have to melt something into the plastic. Like a little Jesus. Or some such thing. One more little flame job. See if I can get it to do something interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it didn't really. Yeah, it's only doing it on that one side too. It seems to have a. Ooh, melted it to the camera. Alright, I better be a little careful. Yeah, the camera won't function properly anymore. So they all have plastic lenses too. Anyway. Alright, enough of that nonsense. Till next time. And such. Yeah, I wish YouTube was more interesting. I wish more people would leave YouTube in droves. But yeah, there really isn't anywhere to go until I get a file uploader. But even then, gotta have some other, gotta give away free tasty cake or something. Their website, I have to give away some kind of free stuff. I have to do something. I have to think of something. A plan. That's what I need. A plan. So I'll work on that. Sparkler. I want to lighten that. Anyway, I don't even know why it's on my desk. Just ready to burn the house down. Idiot. Yeah, that's enough. I think now it's really enough. Uh, 20 minutes. Holy shit! I had no idea. How come the microphone isn't very loud? Oh, maybe it's that spraying thing. Oh.